Marvin Gonzales, R. Nanga, Dr. L. Seeley, and the PNM Rowley administration's water debacle. This is not just a story about a busted pipe. This account is about ministerial failure, institutional neglect, and the cost of political indifference. For 6 years under the former Rowley administration, Trinidad's water system at the Point Lisa's industrial estate was allowed to hemorrhage millions of gallons of treated water every single day. Not because the problem was unknown, not because the warning signs were absent, but because those responsible chose not to act. The former Minister of Public Utilities, Marvin Gonzales, was publicly described by his own Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley, as someone who knew nothing about water. That admission alone should have triggered accountability. Instead, it became a symbol of a wider governance collapse. Point Lisa's is not an ordinary location. It is the industrial heart of the country, underpinning foreign exchange earnings, manufacturing, and employment. Yet under Gonzales's watch, it was treated with what the current minister, Barry Paterath, now calls contemptuous neglect. Correspondence warning of serious leaks was submitted as far back as 2020. Reports came from Plipdeco itself under a PNM-appointed board. Red flags were raised, engineers flagged risks, and yet nothing was done. For 6 years, treated water paid for by taxpayers was pumped, processed, and then allowed to gush into the ground while households faced shortages and rotational supply. Millions of gallons disappeared daily beneath an industrial estate critical to the national economy. This was not ignorance. This was willful disregard. Minister Barry Paterath described it plainly in Parliament. What the country is confronting is not merely a technical failure, but physical evidence of 6 years of political arrogance, ministerial abandonment, and institutional decay. Losses are now estimated at 6 million imperial gallons per day, with a cumulative value of approximately $250 million over the period the crisis was ignored. Losses of that scale do not occur without failure at both the ministerial level and the WASA board level, shared during that period by Ravindra Nanga and Dr. Seeley. Warnings were issued. The former board, under former chairman Ravindra Nanga and Dr. Lennox Seeley, cannot plead surprise. Minister Gonzales cannot plead ignorance. They told him, and he and his colleagues did nothing. Contrast that with what happened after the change in government. Within weeks, the current UNC administration mandated aggressive detection and repair. Technical investigations deliberately avoided for years were finally conducted. What they uncovered was staggering. 21 active transmission failures hidden beneath congested utility corridors and open lots across the estate. Repairs were complex, conditions were high risk, yet action replaced excuses. Within the original 6 to 8 week time frame, 20 of the 21 failures were repaired, representing a 91% completion rate. Non-revenue water dropped, supply stabilized to surrounding communities, roadway integrity was restored, and industrial and safety risks were reduced. Only one high-risk leak now remains, fully identified and actively addressed. The difference is leadership. This crisis did not appear overnight. It was manufactured by neglect, sustained by indifference, and enabled by a minister who perfected the art of being present in office but absent in leadership. The record is clear. The losses were real. The warnings were ignored. And the cost, financial, economic, and social, was paid by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This crisis was not accidental. It was manufactured and enabled by a failure of stewardship under former Minister Marvin Gonzales. Also chairs Ravindra Nanga, Dr. Seeley, and the main person responsible, former Prime Minister Dr. Rowley.